as you say, I work in gender equality field for many years. So here I'm bringing together my background as a gender mainstreaming expert and vocational guidance and education policies work. I will ask to the colleague if they can share my slide. Okay. And I think I have to ask to go in the next one. Okay, yeah, this is me, and we just talk about my experience, and I want to start in the next slide with an example that come from my work in the Council of Europe. When we start to be trained as a gender equality rapporteur, we receive this story, and I want to share it with you, because I think we have to open our mind and reflect about how gender equality can affect our life and what is our barriers and the impact. We are in Sweden, and the government realized that they have, of course, some people affected by cataract, especially older one, and they realized that only men were operated. And so, of course, they decide to discover why. And the first question they have is maybe cataract is a male disease, but the evidence say no. Cataract affect in the same way men and women. And so they have to understand why they are operating immediately men, while women that maybe have a very several hill and they can see are not operated. And they discover that according to the rules, there is a priority criteria to be operated. And these criteria say we operate first who have a hunting license and a driving license. And as cataract affects older people, it means that they operate mainly men, because mainly men have hunting license and driving license. So they create this criteria, not thinking about we want to give an advantage to men, but say if you go to hunt or if you drive, you really need to see well to be able to see everything, or you can be a danger for others. But in the fact, this idea that is not discriminatory create a discrimination, because if you are a man, when you have the first step of the cataract problem, you are operated. If you are a woman, you have to wait a long time, and maybe you really don't see nothing, and you are not operated because you don't have a priority criteria. I start from that point because when we talk about gender mainstreaming and how gender stereotypes, gender policies can affect our life, and especially the work, the path in field of study and job, we have to open our mind and realize how the society and all the structure can affect us. In the next slide, we move to our field of discussion, and I want to share with them a reflection about the confidence gap. Data show that usually girls are better at school, at university, but when we move to the labor market, in the leadership position we find mainly men, and it can be related to the fact that men are most often choose to take leadership role, but there is also the other side of the situation, and is that women and girls don't stand up to ask a position if they are not perfect for that role, and perfect means if they don't fulfill all the criteria. If you have, for example, an call with a list of criteria and to request of competence and experience and knowledge. Human, usually we are talking about statistics, so I'm not saying every human will do this, but as attitude, studies show that a woman stand up and applicate only if she fulfilled all the criteria, while a man, if fulfill half, probably say, okay, let's try, and send the application. And of course, if you don't try, you cannot achieve the result, you cannot obtain the role. So the confidence gap means that probably for the role and for all the messages that we receive, a woman have self-confidence only if she's perfect. And so we have underqualified or not perfect qualified men that apply for a position and can have the occasion to fulfill the role and to achieve the position, while women not. Also because probably in reality, the perfect candidate that really have all the requirements doesn't exist. And so who have to make the decision will choose someone that is not perfect. And if you are not perfect and you will apply, you have the occasion. If not, no. In the next slide, we have an open question to share and to take in mind as food for thought for today. And maybe school and family are a factory of trust for boys and factory of competence for girls. And also the role model, the characters in books and film often show that women are, or girls are really often better prepared, study more. So if we think also for a very famous film or book, we can think about Harry Potter, and we have Hermione that is perfectly represent the girls or the woman that have to know everything, that has not self-confidence. If she really don't read every book in the subject, cannot go to do the exam. And so the second picture that we want to share is Hermione, and the fact that we, of course, it's a not aware approach, but this society often tell to the girls and to the young women, to the young girls, that they have to be perfect, they have to know everything, and they have to be at the top in every moment. Next slide. Now we can move on other area, and are the area of stereotype. We know that if we ask to a kid, but also to an adult to draw a job or a professionist, it's very often we have very often stereotypes. So the teacher are a woman, the engineer is a man, the driver is a man, the nurse is a woman, and so on. And it means that we have to find a reason because this is occurring. The first thing that we have to be aware at is that young people can dream only something they know, and if they haven't seen something of other gender that has this role, they can dream this role for that gender. So this is the fact that is very, very important to show that the reality is really, really more complex and different than the idea they have, and also that can be different from the reality they have around, because it's very common that all the teachers in a school, especially in for a very young child, are women, especially in some country. In other, the situation is changing. But if you grow in this context, you will keep this idea, and so we will replicate the situation in the future. Gender stereotypes are formed starting from the age of 7, and to be destroyed, we have to do that before the age of 18. So we have a very crucial phase in the life of young people to do something, to fight the stereotype and change their mind. And if we don't, also if they will be really, really open mind, in their background, in their unconscious thinking, they will have all the stereotype inside. And of course, we have also to be aware that the most common influence came from family and came from media. So we have to be also aware and pay attention to all the messages that they will receive. Next slide. And now I have I found this research that came first of all from Canada, but then other university did some related research. It's probably linked with the confidence gap and also with stereotype. If we have a job call, an announcement for a job that lists some requirement, there are words that are more related to men, and I'm not thinking that only men have this characteristic, but that only men recognize themselves as person with this characteristic. So if you will look for a strong person, you will probably receive application from men. And so this study suggests some alternatives to use to feel to be more gender neutral and welcome application from both gender. I'm talking about a binary situation, but of course neutral alternatives are really useful to open the situation and receive application from everyone. So I will not read all the word, we will share the slide, but it's to start the reflection that if we change our wording, we are more open and more people will feel welcome in that situation and in that role. So if we not talk about the decision, but about the choice, if we not talk about driving, but about motivating, or we don't talk about leading, but caring, and so on. And I think this is my last slide, and thanks a lot for this opportunity.